listening to Loving BDSM Podcast, episode 144. Kayla Lord's here with the one, the only, the guy who's really good at a hand flourish, John Brownstone.
Practice.
144 times. This week, we're talking about how a submissive can be there for their dom when things get tough. Welcome to the Loving BDSM Podcast. If this is your first time listening, glad to have you. If you're back for another week, welcome back. Loving BDSM is produced every Friday for your kinky pleasure and education, and show notes are found at lovingbdsm.net. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite podcast app. If you love what you hear, we'd love a good review wherever you listen to us to help other kinksters find us. And a little pro tip, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can review each episode, so feel free, because reviews really do work.
Yes.
You can follow the show on Twitter at LovingBDSM, on FetLife at LovingBDSMPC, on Instagram at that handle I fucking hate.
Don't be a hater.
I am on this one. LovingDS and the number 1, so it's LovingDS1. That's us on Instagram. Or on YouTube at youtube.com/LovingBDSM. All links are in the show notes. Just a reminder, you can actually watch this on YouTube. I'm staring into a camera right now, quite frankly. And if you want to get to the show notes page, there is a link to the show notes page in the description. Weekly reminder that you can become one of our kinky patrons on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Kayla Lords for as low as $1 a month. I'm not going to harp on that. Because I harp on it every week. We'll have other opportunities. And because I want to fit in one more quickie announcement.
Okay.
For the past several weeks, up until last week, I'd been doing a weekly video on YouTube under the Fit for Kink kind of thing. And it was getting pretty good response. People were watching it. And I really do love. I couldn't say the word, so I couldn't decide if I liked it or loved it, so I combined the words. I lived it. I don't know. Anyway, I enjoy making those videos.
Loved it.
I did something. I enjoyed making those videos, but I am about to take a hiatus from some, but not all, content that we create in September 2018. And one of the things that had to go for the month was the Fit for Kink video. So we're still going to upload videos to YouTube. We are still going to create content for the website. But if you are a fan of the Fit for Kink video series, I'm taking the month off. And really, it's been longer than that because I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks. But I will be back for that. So if you watch that. So that's it for me for announcements. I'm getting better at this. Yeah. 5 minutes in.
I know.
And
right?
if any of the podcast listeners can hear the ice clinking, yes, this coffee submissive did her job, and somebody else.
Oh God, that's good.
Having a coffee-gasm. I'm very glad you're happy with your coffee service.
Thank you, baby girl.
You're welcome, Daddy. I am drinking a keto-friendly soda because I'm saving my calories for
later.
A coffee later from Starbucks. It's happy hour today, so it is. Buy one, get one free.
It is.
And anytime I can get a latte or a mocha or whatever for half the freaking price, I'm going to do it. But somebody did ask me, and so since other people might be curious too, the keto-friendly sodas, the one we have is called Virgil's. I actually found it at Target. And then there's another one called Zevia, Zevia. I've seen it at Publix. I saw it at Target. So I think you can find it in a lot of other places. So anybody's curious. Okay. So we have a show to do.
Yes.
And it's kind of...
That's why we're here.
That is why we're here.
That's why all these good folks are here.
I know, and we are so happy that they are.
Yeah.
This one's hard for me.
Really?
It is hard for me. And it's
Why?
hard. Well, it's hard for me because I get emotional about it. And not in a ranty way. Like my feelings go deep.
Feeling a little verklempt?
Oh, yes. Yes, very much so. So... we did a blog post about it just the other day, and it was very well received on Twitter, which was nice. In that blog post was specific things, and they are not all of the things, y'all, but specific things that submissives can do for their dominance when the dominant is going through a tough time. And that is supposing that you yourself may not also be going through a tough time. We've talked about it in past episodes about what it's like when you're both going through hell and life has gone topsy-turvy. And sometimes your dynamic has to take a backseat, and sometimes you have to shift roles a little bit and shift tasks. See, I can't speak today. It's awful. Anyway, but this is more about the dom is going through something. You are pretty much okay. You're fine. It's, whatever. Your big thing that you're going through is that your dom is going through something. And how do you cope and what do you do? And how can you actually help your dominant? So the blog post had some tactics, but I wanted to talk about this primarily because, one, you were going through something, and I went, oh, look, a show idea. I know that's probably not healthy, but that's what we do around here. But two, because there's a lot of conversation that we have about what submissives need and how doms help their submissive and what doms do for their submissives. And we have had the conversations about what a submissive should be doing for their dominant, and how both should be doing things for each other. We have an episode on the responsibilities of both parties in relationships. But I don't think we do spend a lot of time talking about how to support dominants who have mental health issues, have physical health issues, are stressed out, are broke, got fired, whatever, like just whatever is going on. And we expect so much of our dominants. And I mean, I hold all dominants I know to a pretty high freaking standard, because you might have all the responsibility, but you also get a lot of the pleasure, which is kind of fun.
True.
Of course, submissives should get pleasure too. That is part of it.
One would
That's how
hope.
this is supposed to work.
One would hope.
But I think that it's very easy for most of us as submissives to forget that our dominants need help, that they, outside of the dynamic, outside of whatever your rules are and your protocols are, and that they need support and that things get tough for them and they get stressed. And dominants, I think, sometimes think that they are supposed to be stony faced and, really stoic about stuff.
Rock solid.
Yeah. And it's all bullshit. I think it's all bullshit.
A dominant is human too. We have our failings. We have emotions, we have things we go through, whether it's work related, whether there's stuff going on with extended family. It can be any number of things.
And I think it's easy to forget this from a submissive perspective. So I'm looking at my notes here because I have had this thought. It's one of those things where the thought came to me, and then I had a whole conversation with myself as I thought through the thought. Whew, I'm a fun person. So we talk a lot about, and you and I especially talk a lot about how certain types, all dominants on some level, take care of their submissive. So in a caregiver little dynamic, or a dynamic with sprinklings of caregiver little, it's pretty overt. The dominant sets rules specifically to address behavior, to address habits, to improve the life of their submissive. In other DS dynamics, I think the same thing, I know for a fact from my own perspective, that the same thing is there. We just don't always call it that, right? Like, so dominants make rules that, empower and better their submissive, right? We don't call it, I can't speak today. We don't call it, quote, taking care of their submissive, but that's what they're doing. You're setting guidelines, you're setting rules, you're deciding on things that, make you happy because you're the dominant, but also that do something for the submissive.
They push your boundaries, they help you grow either as a submissive or as a person.
Exactly.
Right.
So what do submissives do in return to take care of their dominants? Now, most of us would quickly go, anything and everything I can, whatever they need, especially if you're a service submissive, you're like, no, what do you need? I'm here for this. But sometimes we, depending on your dynamic, because everybody's dynamic is different.
True.
We either do exactly what we're told, or we wait to be told, or we ask what we can do. And I think asking what you can do is always sort of a good thing to do, especially if you are in a situation where you are trying to help and you don't quite know what to do, or you're trying to get your dynamic back on track. Asking what you can do is a really good, helpful way to do that. But this is a little bit different. This isn't your normal, because there's a lot of emotions involved. I obviously can only speak from my perspective, but once I know that John Brownstone is going through something, I have a couple of modes. One, I want to fucking fix it. Let's fix this shit. I don't like this. And that's really the second mode. I don't like this. It hurts my heart when I know that there is something going on, whether you're ready to talk about it or not, whether it's something I can actually help with or not. I don't like it. And so of course I want to do something. But the hard part, and I'm sure other submissives can relate to this, is the dominant letting their submissive actually help. You get in your own way sometimes, right? Like there's a warm-bodied, willing human being going, I will do what you want me to do, just tell me. And I get I'm fine. No, you're not. I'm fine. And then here's what else happens next.
What happens next?
I'm stubborn. I know people will be shocked by that. And I'm kind of pushy, and I know everybody is shocked by that. And so I start pushing, and I start going, no, tell me what's wrong. Tell me. No, what? Something. To the point that you're then ready to strangle me. Thank you for not, by the way. I mean, murder is a capital offense, but
I
still
haven't yet after how many years?
I know, right? Just give it a little bit more time. You will. I'll push you too far at one point. But, it depends on the dynamic and it depends on the concern that submissives have for their dominance. But we want to know. And it's tricky. It is tricky because as a dominant, you could conceivably, as long as I consented to it, you could dom me into telling you whatever is wrong with me.
Yeah.
Right. You could go, baby girl, you have to tell me. I can't help you until you tell me. You tell me now.
Baby girl, you sit down right now and you use your words.
Right. You hear him? This is my life. But does a submissive get to do that? No, a submissive does not get to do that because if we have to walk a finer line. We have to walk the line between our dynamic that we've consented to and we've agreed upon and helping a fellow human being who we care about through whatever the hell is going on. You could see where we might get cranky about it, right?
Bit of a conundrum.
It's a conundrum. So you were the dom in residence here. What do you propose we do about that?
Tread lightly.
Yeah, I've already learned that one. We had that happen. I'm aware when you snapped at me, and I don't like being snapped at, and I don't like you being the one to snap at me, because you are the one person who, if you snap at me, my first reaction is not to snap back. Other people do not have that luxury. Snap at me, and I snap back, but not you.
For me, I will say this. It's a little bit of walking a fine line. Okay, because and here's why. Maybe even a double-edged sword is a better way to put it. Because what happens, especially with you have an anxious mind.
Yes.
Okay, so there are times when I do keep certain things back because I don't want you to worry, because I know that you'll spin it up in your mind. But the other side of that sword is that when I don't say anything, your mind is spinning on its own and working up worst case scenarios.
So you're fucked either way.
Yeah.
I will say, as the person who's the one with the anxious mind, and obviously this does not hold true for everybody, but as the person with the anxious mind, I would rather know than not know. Partly because, and I think this can be fairly common in long-term loving DS relationships, you get a sense of each other. I'm not going to say it's a submissive thing to get a sense of the other person or a dom thing. It's a person thing. It's about being with each other and becoming really close and developing really close connections. You get a sense of the other person when something isn't right.
Well, sure. It's with us. If something's off with you, I feel and it throws me off.
Right.
Okay. So when I'm off,
and I feel it. Sometimes I don't know what I'm feeling, and then when I do realize what I'm feeling, I feel it all the way.
Right.
And then now I have the personality of the person who wants to fix problems. I want to find solutions. I want to work towards them. I actually kind of really enjoy coming up with solutions to problems. I'm kind of weird that way, but so when I know something's wrong, I can't help you fix it. I can't be your service submissive who helps you fix it until we talk about it.
True.
And like I said a couple of minutes ago, because of our dynamic, now that's not completely true. We've talked about this in the past, but for the most part, because of our dynamic, I don't have the luxury of, quote, forcing you to tell me anything, which is not always the worst thing ever. It is another lesson in patience. I don't like that lesson. I don't want to have that lesson. I want what I want when I want it.
When you want it. Typical baby girl.
Right. But it is frustrating. It does make taking care of you harder because from the submissive perspective and from one submissive's perspective, so not every submissive will feel this way, it is, that's what my overwhelming need is to help you through whatever. It could be a minor stress. It could be something that happened out in the shop. It could be you were driving down the road and another driver was stupid and I obviously there's certain things you can't fix, but you know what I can do is be there with you in solidarity. I can say, yeah, that motherfucker doesn't know how to drive at all, you know. And yes, those are things I say. Or I can walk out to your shop and go, okay, how do we fix this mess? What's wrong? What do you need from me? Do you need a coffee? I can give you a coffee.
Coffee makes everything better.
Coffee makes everything better. I can comfort you. I can. The other day when I knew something was off, but we hadn't talked about it yet, I was like, "Do you want to have sex? Would that help?" I get out of the shower. I have no clothes on. I just lay. He's like, "I'm going to go back to bed because you didn't." For 2 nights, he barely slept, y'all.
Yeah.
And he needed to go back to bed. He was too tired to even work in the shop. He probably would have chopped a finger off if he had. And so he's getting back in bed. I'm getting out of the shower from having, walked and getting ready to really start my day. And there I am naked. I'm like, you want to have sex? Would that help you go to sleep? That'd probably relax you. An orgasm would probably relax you. He's barely functioning. He's so tired. I just lay down in the bed in his spot naked. I'm here. Here, how can I help? Because, right. And he's like, I'll lay on top of you. I'm not fucking you. But that's partly my baby girl way, partly my fixer way, just this drive, this force within me that's like, you have to help, make this better. Part of it, I'm not gonna lie, part of it's selfish. When you are out of it, we are always daddy and baby girl. We are always who we are. Okay. But you are the driving force behind the dynamic. So when you can't do it for whatever reason, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, and that is something that I recommend whenever possible to submissives in this situation. Keep doing the stuff you're supposed to do. But you
feel a little drifty?
Oh, absolutely. I'm completely adrift because I'm like, well, what does he want? I know what I'm supposed to do, but going to bed at night. You decide when we go to bed. Pretty much. You say, okay, you got a 10-minute warning or whatever, right? Well, shit, there's nobody here to tell me when to go to bed. I know what time I need to go to bed. I don't really feel like going to bed, and so I don't. Or there's a decision that needs to be made. Now, I'm confident enough in myself, in us, in what you like. I can make most decisions. I don't need you to make decisions, but part of, for me, being a submissive, is liking that you make the decision or that we collaborate and I go, hey, look, this is what I know, this is what I think, but what do you want to do? And when you're sort of down for the count, that's not really much of an option. So there is a bit of that feeling adrift and kind of a little bit lost. Not that I can't function. I would be very concerned for a submissive who is completely incapable of functioning as a legal adult without your partner, because the reality is there are going to be times when, whether you're married and living together like we are or long distance like we used to be, there are just times that you have to somehow make it through a couple of hours, a couple of days without that guidance. And if you fall apart, that's going to make just your life a lot harder than it has to be. So, if that does happen and that happens to you regularly, I would start working on coping mechanisms and how, what can you fall back on? What tricks can you use? What, talk about it when everything is calm. Always try to plan for these things when everybody's calm and there's no drama going on. Because in the middle of drama, you're not going to get a good answer most of the time. No. Probably going to get yelled at, quite frankly. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. You don't really yell at me, but you do snap.
I get snappy.
I don't like that.
Especially when I'm tired like that.
Yeah, and you were very tired.
Yeah. And now, one of the things that you did for me the other night that was immensely helpful and appreciated to me was you jumped in to help me cook dinner.
Well, I was very excited to have the time to help you cook dinner, and then I also was feeling really bad for you because I knew you were exhausted, and I everybody knows that exhausted feeling when you barely slept and it's been a couple of days and you are don't even know how you're getting by and your eyes are all grainy and tired and all you want to do is sit still and close your eyes and you still have to do these things. And so, there are a lot of times I can't tell when it's my submissive side, when it's the side of me that loves you, when it's baby girl. It's the right thing to do and it's whatever. I was just really grateful to have the time and to have made the time and to have paid attention because when I'm working, I can go get real bad tunnel vision, and you could be on fire, and I'd be like, "What?
And you wouldn't notice,
warm in here."
But no, I was very grateful for that. It was a big help for me when you jumped in.
And I think that's a good sort of tip if you are together in your DS relationship, whether it's a temporary thing and maybe it's during a visit, or you live together, or you're just physically close enough that you can get to each other easily, quick drive or whatever. Jumping in like that, I can only speak from my perspective, but it is sometimes hard when, especially if you're in a dynamic where you're looking for explicit permission to do things, like you have your things and the other person has their things, and where's that boundary where you can cross over and it makes the line between you a little fuzzier. And I always look at it as, if it's in my nature as a submissive to be helpful, and it is, then anything I can do to be helpful is what I should do, and I shouldn't necessarily worry, am I allowed to do this? And when in doubt, always ask. I mean, that's just the best advice for life. When in doubt, just ask. But I do rely on you to tell me when it's too much. I don't like it when you tell me that I've gone too far. Of course I don't. But that's what I'm relying on. And that's a trust and faith thing. That's we've been together long enough. We know each other well enough. We are close enough that I can take what some people might consider liberties with our dynamic, and I can do things that you didn't specifically ask for, or is outside of my normal role. If it's in the name of helping you, then it all kind of counts. And it's, it's part submission, but it's part being a good partner to another human being, and being helpful. But the other thing, and we have talked about this in the past, I think we have an episode on it, and if we do, I will link to it in the show notes, is about the tough love clause.
Yeah.
And I fully support a version in every dynamic of, you don't have to call it the tough love clause, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but it is the thing where when the dominant is not taking care of themselves, they're not doing what's best for themselves, which means they're ultimately not doing what's best for their submissives, that in an effort to help, the submissive steps up and says, no, you got to go take care of this. You got to do something different. I have called the dentist for John Brownstone and asked questions. Like, they thought I was his wife at the time. I'm like, I am. I'm Mrs. John Brownstone. Not his real name, but you know what I mean. How much will that be? When's your first available appointment here? Oh, yeah, his social, his date of birth. Got it. What do you need? Let's get this taken care of. I have made doctor's appointments. I have driven you to doctor's appointments. I have bought you medicine. I have told you you're going to need to go to bed. And I have used guilt. I have absolutely
the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely guilted him into it. When he's tempted to fight, when like that last little spark of domliness is still there before he passes out from being exhausted or stressed or sick, and he wants to rear up and go, "Who do you think you are?" I mean, like, I'm gonna blow on you and you're gonna fall over. No. And what I'll do is I'll go, well, how can you be the best dominant for me if you're too sick to even move? Can you please take this medicine? Just take your antibiotic, please. But and everybody has, if that's even a thing that people want to adopt, I recommend it. It's very handy when they're not taking care of themselves. But I do think it still has to fit within your dynamic. So I get playful and kind of teasing. I think only once did I get really serious with you and say, you need to go do this. Why aren't you doing this? But even then, it's still in that role of, I am being of service. I'm helping you. I want you to do what's best for you because it's what's best for us. Please help me help you. So you have to come to it in your own way and what works with your specific relationship and dynamic. But I fully advocate for a tough love clause. Oh yeah, get you some of that, because when they want to be stubborn and they don't want to go to bed when they've barely slept and they're like, but I have all these things I need to do. No. What I need you to do is be a healthy fucking dominant for me right now. And that means you need to go to bed and sleep. Or that means you need to walk away from this stressful thing tonight. Are you going to get it done tonight? No. Okay. Then you need to go to bed. It's time to go to bed. And when in doubt, just be naked for them and be like, look, I'm naked over here. If you follow me, right, you can go lay down with a naked person. Won't that be fun? It does work. It's, around here, because of us, he follows the boobs. Right? Like, look, the boobs are out, nipples.
Follow and then the bouncing boobs.
Exactly. And then it's like a beacon. You just, homing beacon.
Well,
you're right there.
Coffee and boobs makes everything better.
I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah.
Coffee and boobs. Yeah. That seems right. That does seem right.
At least from my...
So I have to ask, because I mentioned this earlier because it was very frustrating to me. When you have so if it's outside the tough love clause, you don't have a tough love clause, or the tough love clause does not seem to fit the situation. Like what we went through the other past couple days, you had something weighing on your mind that you were not willing to talk about.
Right.
But you not talking about it and having it weighing on your mind was impacting our relationship, our life, our mutual stress levels. And had that been me, you would have domed me into speaking.
Right.
What, from a dominant perspective, is a submissive to do when their dominant cannot be domed into speaking? And what tools does a submissive have that... Yes, this is that moment you tell me what tools I did not know I had. I recognize what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because
fishing for information.
Yes. To help the audience. Always in service of the audience. Maybe myself a little bit.
No personal gain whatsoever.
No. I'm totally altruistic.
Yeah. Okay.
But what are we supposed to do? When your stress and your problems and your behavior because of it, because that's just human nature. People are different when things are tough, right? When all of that is impacting both of us, and my job, my role, my responsibility, the thing I want more than anything is to help you.
Right.
What does a submissive do when we do not have those tools at our disposal?
Interesting.
And I don't have answers for that.
You don't.
What answers do you have for that?
Well, it would depend on the situation.
Always.
Okay. And for me, I am, because of my nature, I am a somewhat emotional person. Okay. You're well aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. And I also have a level of being empathic. All right. And that in of itself sometimes is enough to bring me down.
Right. And that empathic side can be a feedback loop.
Yes.
Especially since we're both empathic.
Right.
So you feel bad because I feel bad.
And
I
then
feel
pass
bad
it on to you, and then it comes back to me.
Oh, it's fun
it's
times.
like it's a vicious cycle. There are times when it's something like that. I am by most parts an introvert myself, not as much so as my lovely wife here.
I'm sure few people are as introverted as I can be.
And there are times I go to all the munches. I go to the socials, and I love being out and about and around people. But that comes at a cost at times.
Right.
All right. And when that happens, the best thing for me is just
to be left the hell alone.
Left the hell alone.
That is so hard.
I need some quiet time. I need some peace. I may just lay down on the bed and read a book, away from any noise and distractions. That allows me to recharge.
Right, and that's a common introvert thing. I do that all the time, where I can people for so much time, and then I'm like, nope, no more people. Gotta give me a dark room by my damn self. But okay, so that's one situation, and that is common, and you're right. And some people are more emotional than others. Some people are more comfortable showing their emotions than others. Dominants of all stripes, flavors, genders, sexualities have their own personality.
Sure.
And so some will be more emotional than others. Some have bought into that idea that they're not supposed to show any emotions. I wish you'd stop buying into that idea.
Poo-poo.
I mean, I think we all have our own natural tendency about what we're comfortable showing to people. I think that if you are in a strong enough, solid enough, close enough, and some DS relationship, and not all relationships will hit that level.
No,
but that your submissive is like the one person. Maybe
I'm more comfortable showing you a deeper level of my emotions than I would somebody I talk to on Twitter.
Of course.
Or,
and in some cases that won't be the case. It's too new, or it's more of a casual thing, or it's a part-time kind of thing. But in those long-term loving kind of things, even if it's platonic and it's not sexual, that, if there's the one person who's the most vulnerable with you is your submissive. Like, they bear it all on some level. And it's sort of I'm going to need you to reciprocate, and I think submissives have to work on some of the stereotypes we have in our head, that doms never show emotion, and they're always strong, and they're always capable, and they don't get stressed. And if you're walking around with that picture of a dominant in your head, I'm going to need you to get rid of that one, because yes, that can be true.
Sweep that out the door.
But, some of the doms are people. They're normal people with normal emotions, and some will be that way. Some will be very stoic, and some will not.
Everybody has their own personality.
Absolutely.
But, everybody has their point, their breaking point, per se.
Right.
If you look at your dominant as someone who is, the most stoic person in the world, and they never falter, they never this, that to me is akin to putting them on a pedestal.
Right.
And when that pedestal crumbles, when that emotional wall crumbles,
right, and
it's not going to be pretty.
And I think it's tough for both sides.
And it's a shock.
Right, and it's tough for both sides, and it's a shock for both sides, because first your dominant has to realize, oh crap, I have emotions and I'm showing them, and what's going to happen now? And then the submissive has to go, oh wait, this is my dominant having an emotion that's not, straight out of my erotic fantasies. And that's very real, and that's going to happen. And if it hasn't happened yet, buckle up. It'll happen at some point, most likely. Maybe not with this partner, but with another. And I think those are the most intricate, intimate, linked, deep dynamics you can have. Even if it's not a forever thing, when you can be that close to somebody that you're feeding off their emotions and they're feeding off your emotions, and that they can be vulnerable in front of you and show you when they're having a bad day, or when they're really stressed, or when something bad has happened and they admit to you, I cannot do this dom thing right now, it's fucking with my head. That's a level of trust that is kind of sacred, I mean, that's a part of themselves that they might not show to anybody else. So being prepared for the fact that it can, and quite frankly, hopefully it will happen, that's one part of it. And then it's the knowing what to do about it. And one of the things I did put in the blog post is sometimes there's not a damn thing you can do.
No.
Sometimes it is unsolvable. You have to sit quietly, let them work it out, know that, remind them that you're there. That's always my thing, is go, okay, I'm here. Whatever you need, I'm here. And I check in. I check in a little too much, but I check in. You doing okay? How you feeling? What do you need from me?
I think that comes with the fact, what you need to do to approach it is, daddy, sir, master, miss, whatever it may be. I know things are not right with you at the moment. Is there anything I can do to help?
Right.
All right.
Do you, because we've gone through this multiple times, our dog is hiding under the desk because it's thundering outside.
We've had some very unsettled weather here the last few days, and there's a storm coming in. He's our radar.
He's 11 and a half pounds and 14. I think he's allowed to be scared of the thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've gone through this multiple times, and I've taken multiple tactics in an effort to try and help you. And sometimes I'm really, I just get into a really submissive headspace, and I'm like, what do you need? What can I do for you? And I sort of like run and jump, not by some sort of command, but just sort of in an effort to go, I'm going to try and make his life as easy as possible while he gets through that. And that's one tactic. I have pushed. I've done tough love in the sense of I've gotten in your face and been like, something is not right. You have to talk to me. And
True.
A couple times that's worked, and a couple times it hasn't.
It hasn't, no.
And then there have been times I've attempted, I've failed, but I've attempted patience. Of all the methods,
which is the hardest for you.
Yes, patience is the hardest for me. I'm a fixer. I want to fix shit. Is there one method over any of the others that's worked best for you based on your own personality, or is it truly a situational thing?
I think it's a situational thing. For me, a lot of times when I get like that, the best thing that does help for me is to give me a little bit of space.
I know, I don't like that.
And you don't like that. But for me, I have always been a processor.
Yeah.
Okay. I process things. There was a time back in the days of my youth when I just used to make snap decisions.
Oh God, I can't even imagine. I'm sorry.
All right. And being like that got me in more shit.
Yeah, that's why I can't imagine that, because no, that wouldn't work.
So I learned from early on, no, I am not going to be making snap decisions. I need to take the time in my own way to process things. Mm-hmm. Now, so, yes, for me, sometimes just giving me the space to step back and allowing me to process that is what I need. Now, they say being, especially being a big D, your strengths are your weakness.
Oh yeah. There's a shadow side to every strength. There's a weakness.
There's a shadow side to everything. So there are times when I process and I think about things, and as the big D, I get caught in this loop. Well, I need to think about this. I shouldn't have to ask for help. I am the one who makes all the decisions. I am the leader. I need to be able to fix this.
I can think my way through this on my own.
That's right. And that's not necessarily always true, because, I know you love this word, but, it's easy to lose sight of being a team sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. I'm not a big fan of the team word, but that's okay. Yeah, we are a team. Mm-hmm. And I think that is part of it. And there's a subtlety to it where we've now been together in some form or fashion for 6 years, and I can still get this wrong now. 5 years, 6 years, 5.5. Oh, mm-hmm. Lord, I can't do math. Yeah. We've been together for several years. We're married, damn it. That I'm sure of.
Coming up on 1 year for that.
I know. It's very exciting. So there's a subtlety to it, though, because sometimes I get it completely right and I read the moment and I read the mood. It helps when I know what the problem actually is, when I can see what caused it. Then I recognize I know exactly what it is. I'm not worried that it's me, mm-hmm. and I can give him that time and space. Sometimes I know what the problem is, and I know that he wants the time and space, but that any further delay will make the problem worse, and so then I'll bust out a tough love clause. And then sometimes I don't know what the hell's going on, and I can't get him to talk to me. And there have been times I've been able to be patient and wait. Mm-hmm. There have been times when I was patient, I waited, and I could tell that my emotional daddy was stuck in a loop of overthinking much further past the point that he really probably needed to. Right. And then there was the other day where none of that, it all went out the window. I was on it. I could sense something. I was mostly worried because he wasn't sleeping. Yeah. And not sleeping for him is a huge sign that something is on his mind. But it still took me a solid day to go, wait, something must be on his mind. First I thought he was sick. I'm like, oh my God, why is he not sleeping? So I was worried about his health first. And then
I have a certain level of insomnia. Yeah. Have been that way for years, even before knowing you. But this was way outside the scope of my normal insomnia.
First I'm worried because I think there's something wrong physically, mentally, but something's wrong. Then I realize, oh crap, if he's not sleeping, something's on his mind. What's on his mind? Mm-hmm. And he kept going, I need time. And we got 48 hours before. And that, to me, quite frankly, that's too damn long. That really is, because we live together and we're together so often, and he has the type of life where he can go off and do his thinking whenever he needs to. For other people, that might not be long enough. It's all, everybody's unique. Yeah. But so I pushed. And I pushed, and I pushed, and I pushed.
And you pushed some more.
And it came from a place of love and worry and wanting to be the best submissive I could be, but it backfired. It really did. And And that's gonna happen, and it blew up in my face, and there were some hurt feelings, and there were some moments that were not fun, and then we talked about what happened, and that's even worse. We haven't even finished that conversation yet.
No.
But that's, that's for us, that's how bad it can be if you aren't reading the signals right, if you're not willing to be patient, if you're so overeager in your desire to help that you cause more problems. Like you can sort of shoot yourself in the foot if you don't say, wait, okay, he's telling me to back off. He's telling me to just leave him alone. That's what I need to do. The best thing I would say, because the problem is once you get stuck in this, once it's happening, you're just got to fumble your way through it. You've got to throw everything at the wall and figure out, what do they respond to? What seems to work? But prior to it happening, because let's get real, this is gonna happen. This is life. Something hits one of you, illness, stress, job loss, kids, I don't know, anything. And one of you's not in a great place, and the other one's got to kind of figure it out and deal with it. But when you're the submissive, what's happening with your dom, the best thing you can do, if you can think about it, and let this episode be the conversation starter, is to talk about, what do you need? How do I help you best when things get rough? I think about people who have the types of jobs where every so often the same stressor comes around, and they know that they're going to have a week or a month or whatever where life is going to be nuts, and they're not going to feel good, or they're going to be stressed, or they're going to be tired, or they're going to be whatever. When people know they have to deal with certain emotional things because it's something they deal with regularly, those, you can't plan for everything, but if you know something's coming, or if you know that how you have behaved and felt and reacted in past situations, talk about those. Say, from a submissive perspective, say, when things get tough, what do you actually need from me? How can I be of service? How can I help you? How can I not get in your way and cause an unnecessary argument? What will work?
Oh, you're asking me?
No, you had your mouth open like you were going to talk. I thought I'd let you.
Okay.
It's rare.
Yes, it is. Yes, wow.
Let's try not to interrupt for once.
I was so shocked I wasn't expecting that. My goodness.
Whew.
And, no, I just wanted to make a quick comment, because one of the things that I noticed, which was very hard for me over the last couple days, and I had gone through this years ago because of some chronic pain. When you don't sleep, okay, you get into this cycle. All right, you need to sleep to heal, but you can't heal because you're not sleeping.
And you can't sleep because you're hurt.
Right.
And if you could sleep, you wouldn't hurt. Yeah, that's an awful cycle.
Okay, so, and unfortunately, the same thing goes on the emotional side. All right. So here I had something on my mind, and I'm not sleeping, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and it kind of snowballs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then I'm like, well, okay, what if this is being blown out of proportion because of being tired, and, what's real here, what's not?
Yeah. Yeah. Which would be my argument for just saying something right away before that can happen, even if you haven't processed it and thought it through yet. I, too, am a thinker and a processor, so I get it, but I also recognize that we can think ourselves to death, and we can overthink, and then it still blows up in our face.
Yeah.
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 Ultimately, though, it's about being in tune with each other.
Yeah.
From a submissive perspective, when in doubt, ask. I would definitely urge anybody who does not have some version of a tough love clause to negotiate something like that. Something that's within both your comfort levels. You do both have to consent to it. But if you are a submissive who's thinking, how do I convince my dominant of that? It's, it depends on your dynamic, but it's about taking care of your dominant. And if you see your role as a submissive as taking care of your dominant, or that's part of your role, then that's the best argument you'll ever have, is without that, you cannot always take proper care of your dominant.
And, there are other factors in with all this. It's talked a lot about mental health when it comes to a submissive.
Right, and we do talk, and we've talked about that in the past, and we'll talk about that again in the future. But mental health, dominants have mental health issues too that they have to navigate.
Dominants could. Excuse me.
You okay over there? This is an off the rails kind of episode today.
Yes, it is. But dominants can have problems with depression.
People have problems with that. Anxiety, depression,
anxiety,
being bipolar, personality
ADHD,
disorder.
Anything like
all
that.
All kinds of things.
All kinds of things can affect a dominant. They're not immune to those things just because they're a dominant.
Right. And we talked about this ages ago when we did an episode on mental health, that if your mental health is affecting your life, please seek help in whatever way you can, whether that's through medication or it's therapy or it's a combination, that there's no shame in it. I don't care which side of the slash you're on. But if you are aware of your problems and the things you deal with and the cycles you go through, and I have learned in the past 2 years that they can be definite cycles, and sometimes I can set a clock by them and sometimes I can't. So I have no doubt other people go through that too.
Yes.
So if you know you have these cycles, that's something that you really shouldn't keep from a submissive, especially if you're in a situation where your submissive's going to be with you most of the time. They're in town, they live with you, you're married, like whatever it is.
Right.
They need to know, because they can't give you what you need. They can't be there for you. They can't properly react if they don't know what the hell's going on. Right. And frankly, the time to talk about these things is not, if you can help it, when you're in the middle of it. It's now, while things are calm. Like, hey, there are times this happens and this is what I need, or this is what I don't need. This would be the worst thing for you to do. Please don't do this. And then as a submissive, you do that. And, we focused this episode on what submissives can do for dominance, but it goes both ways. It's a conversation for both of you. And you know what?
It's not a one-way street.
No. And we have talked about this in the past, that sometimes you won't know. Sometimes you won't know what's going on with you until you're in the middle of it. Sometimes you won't know what you need until you need it.
Right.
So you can't predict for everything and you can't guard against everything. But being willing to have the conversations where a dominant says, sometimes I just need to be left alone. Or sometimes I'm real pain in the ass to live with, and here's why. Just being sort of refreshingly
grumpy polar bear.
I know about that. Don't talk to a certain somebody named John Brownstone until he's had at least 3 sips of coffee. Just don't. Okay. But just by having the conversation that you know yourself well enough to be able to say, yeah, this will sometimes happen, and just so you know, and we'll figure it out together. That it's an intimacy and it's a vulnerability and it's a realism that, especially if you're new, it's really, really easy on both sides of the slash to put your partner up on a pedestal. Dominants do it too. They're like, oh, this is the most perfect submissive ever. No, there's no such thing. Okay, we all fuck up. And submissives, your dominant is probably wonderful and perfect for you. They are not the most perfect special human being on the planet who never makes a mistake. God, how I wish that was true. That would be wonderful. My life would be easier. That is not true. Okay? They will say things they don't mean to say. They will ignore you when they know they shouldn't. They will not behave in the dumbest manner that they could. As long as it's not consistently happening all the freaking time, that means there's something going on. And hopefully you have the kind of relationship where you can talk about it and you can sort it out. And you can be there for them and you can figure out what that means for you. Right. As you can tell from us, I'm still figuring it out and I'm still getting it wrong. So there are no concrete answers for how to do this for every dominant.
There isn't.
It's about the person in front of you. But I think that if you have the desire to do that, that's good. I think most of us probably do. And if your dominant will let you, that's even better. Because that is half the battle. They have to let you help them. Anything more you'd like to add?
I think I'm sure there's a lot more that can be talked about and added, as always.
There always is. And we'd love to hear from anybody out there, whether you're watching or listening, that's gone through it and you have a different perspective on it, or that you've come across something in I won't say in very specific situations, because we are all different. But man, if you've got an answer to that, how do you get your dom to do something? How do I subtly dom my dom? How do I top from the bottom on this one?
Topping from the bottom?
Oh, that gives me full body shivers. I don't want to top from the bottom.
Okay.
But I will do whatever is fucking necessary to take care of you. So maybe I will. But yeah, so that's it for us, I think.
I think so.
We do have a bonus section.
Yes.
Because we got mail.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. Makes
I know.
me very happy.
Love getting mail.
I know. And this was very nice mail.
Yes.
This was international mail, too.
Correct.
I know. And I know I've actually physically met the person who sent it.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure there might be squeeing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Just obliquely kind of subtly mentioning that there is a postcard. Yeah. So maybe we should actually fucking talk about it.
Yes.
I kind of feel like last week I felt on fire. Like this episode we turned on the mic and I was like, yes, I am here. And now I'm like,
bring it on.
Do you want to pick daisies in a field? I don't know. What are words?
A blanket forked.
What are words? I don't know what words are. Me is bad at grammar. Like, it's awful today.
Okay. I think on that note, baby girl, it's time to...
It's time, and we'll do the bonus section.
Are we good?
Vaguely.
Okay.
Keep it kinky, y'all. And we'll see you next week. Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy.
Yes, baby girl.
Can I talk to the crickets?
You really want to talk to the crickets, don't you? You do love your crickets.
The crickets get me on a level that would be scary in any other situation. But that I'm really grateful for, quite frankly, that the crickets get me.
All right, baby girl.
Talk to the crickets.
Talk to the crickets.
We got mail. Okay, now I'm going to try really hard to put this in the camera, so if you're watching on YouTube, hopefully you can see it. If you were listening, I will try not to be as late as last week with taking a picture of the postcard and putting it up on... How do I do this?
Would you like me?
Yes. Y'all, I don't know how cameras work.
There you go.
And it says be a warrior, WARRIOR, not a worrier.
Yep.
And we're trying. And it is from our dear, dear friend, Quinn.
Yes.
Her Twitter handle is @OnQueerStreet. Her blog is fucking amazing.
Oh, it's awesome.
Oh my God, she's so kinky. I think she's kinky in real life, and I don't know if she's as kinky as her erotica is, but her erotica is so fucking kinky. It's got me going, I think I'm questioning my sexuality now that I've read this.
She wrote a story that touched me. It was
tentacles, didn't you say? Yeah.
It was tentacles,
John Brownstone thing.
It was a mix of, it was reality.
Of course it was, because she's so good at that.
Fantasy, and
she's so good at that.
it was really good.
Oh yeah, we adore her. So it says hello to Kayla Lords, Smutlancer, and Baby Girl. Yeah, that's me. And Mr. Sir John Brownstone. Thank you for sharing all your wonderful kinky fuckery and awesome podcastery. Is that a word? It is now. With the world. Love from Quinn @OnQueerStreet. And here's what's killing me. Quinn put hashtags that I have no doubt are either brilliant or funny or would make me go, yes. And the post office put a stamp over them. I can't get the stamp off. Hashtag puh. And
I bet that's podcastery.
Podcastery. Oh, look at you holding it up to the light. Ooh, and hashtag loving BDSM. I never thought to hold it up to the light. I would never have steamed open an envelope back in the day either.
I've done that.
I bet you have. You're a sneaky bastard. That's part of why I love you. It is. So this is going live on August 31st, last day of August.
Day of August.
We're going into September. There's lots going on in September.
Really?
Well, there's lots going on for me. You've been not sleeping for 3 days. Whatever. You've been a zombie around here for 3 days.
Yeah.
You've been snapping at really nice ladies. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Obviously not you.
What? Hey! Wait! What? I was going to talk about how one of those ladies showed you her boobs, but whatever. Whatever.
Whatevs.
So actually, there's stuff going on that we'll be talking about in the behind the scenes podcast episode on Patreon, and that's the business stuff. So if you're interested, we will ultimately talk about it. We don't keep all that stuff secret, but it's like our one place to talk about it all at once ahead of time. But
it's not all on the down low.
No, because it all ends up coming out eventually, and we talk about it in bits and pieces. But that's like, ooh, this is what they're doing, and I have thoughts about those things. But personally, September is other than the youngest having a birthday.
Right.
And thankfully he's easy. He wants a cookie cake.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants a very expensive birthday present that he's not getting.
No.
And he wants to go to dinner at a place we all like to go to dinner at. So that was easy. But September's kind of our quiet month.
Yes.
It's usually the downtime before October when everything kind of picks back up. My birthday's in October. Our wedding anniversary's in October. We've got other birthdays in October, and then of course you go into the holidays.
Right.
So it's like our one quiet month. So I don't even think we have anything personal planned. We have professional stuff planned, but personal, I don't think we have anything really planned.
No.
Huh.
No, not really.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything to really talk about. I've just been working, you know. I mean, like everybody else on the planet, I've just been working.
And that's pretty much what I've been doing,
and not sleeping. Love you, mean it. God. Podcast listeners, you cannot see the look he's giving me, but I bet you can hear the look he's giving me. And I'm not sure that the YouTube viewers can watch either, because I was just sitting in a puff and cloud of vape. You make really big, like, clouds with that. What's the technical term for that?
Fog machine.
Don't think that's the technical term. Pretty sure that's not the technical term. I'm pretty sure that is not the technical term. What's the technical term?
I'm practicing to get a part-time job over Halloween.
Stop. I'm asking, like, it's not really a serious question, but it's kind of a serious question. When you vape and you make that big cloud, is it just a cloud of vapor?
Yeah.
It doesn't have another term?
Don't believe so.
If anybody else out there does the e-cig thing and you know it has a term, feel free to tweet at us and tell us. It's just clouds in our house, just filled.
Well, there is one term. There is a term for people who vape and make big clouds of vape. They're called cloud chasers.
See, I would think that's something kinky. If you're a cloud chaser, I'd be like, oh, you are? What exactly are you chasing? And have you caught any lately? Like, that's pure innuendo, just waiting. You e-cig people are so innocent. Okay, I know plenty of kinky people vape. Like, I know personally kinky people who vape. So I'm pretty sure the kinky vaping community needs to get together and figure out what an actual cloud chaser is. Or we just need to go to Urban Dictionary. I'm pretty sure there's something there too. So since all you're doing is happily vaping over there, and my mind is a total fucking blank, we're probably good, right?
I think so. I mean, I haven't really been doing much of anything either. I've been just
doing our normal thing.
Doing our normal thing. I've been out in the shop constantly.
But next weekend, will I be bitching about wallpaper next weekend? Is next weekend when we start taking down wallpaper in a kitchen?
Probably not next weekend.
Oh, thank God.
Because next Friday night, I have my first
you have a craft show
of the fall season.
Okay, so mid-September is when I get to start bitching about it.
Yes.
Okay, good to know. Good to know when I can be cranky. And I will demand payment in Diet Coke. Please and thank you.
But we're going to try something different this time with the wallpaper. I'm going to go in search of a wallpaper steamer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We've tried every other method, so
right.
Why not? Oh, it's thundering really hard now.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, we'll be done.
Yep.
We're good. Hopefully you got something out of this. If not, hopefully just a few laughs. If you got no information but some laughs, I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm totally okay with that.
Good.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, we're around. Tweet at us. Instagram at us. Is that a thing? I don't know if that's a thing.
Insta.
I say Insta, but if you're talking to somebody on Instagram, what is the term? I don't know. If there's a term, somebody tell me. Okay. We're done. We're going to go.
Done, yes.
We love you guys.
We love you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.